The cold darkness of space held many secrets. Between the star systems of Vexar Prime and Kelthian Minor, something floated in the endless void. It had been there for a very long time, silent and forgotten. The Galactic Council's research ship moved slowly through the empty space. Inside the bridge, dozens of aliens from different worlds worked at their stations. They had been exploring this region for 3 months, looking for old artifacts and lost technology. Yuna stood near the main viewing screen. She was human, one of only 5 humans working on this expedition. Her dark eyes scanned the sensor readings carefully. As a xenoarchaeologist, she had spent 15 years studying ancient alien civilizations. She had seen many strange things in her career, but something about today felt different. "Commander, we have detected something," announced the sensor officer, a tall Thronid with blue crystalline skin. The ship's commander, a massive Kelthian named Vorth, moved his 4 arms in a gesture of interest. "Show me." The main screen flickered. An image appeared showing a vessel drifting in the darkness. It was large, perhaps 300 meters long, with a dark gray hull that seemed to absorb light. The design was strange, angular and harsh, unlike the smooth curves of modern spacecraft. Yuna felt her breath catch. Something about the ship's design seemed familiar, but she could not place it. "It appears to be a warship," said Vorth. "Very old. Sensors indicate it has been here for centuries." The Council's military advisor, Thalrix, made a bubbling sound that his species used for laughter. The Vexari floated in his liquid sphere, his tentacles waving with amusement. "A warship? Look, at that design. It is primitive beyond belief." Other council members began gathering around the screen. Yuna counted representatives from 8 different species, all staring at the derelict vessel. "No plasma shield generators," observed a Drenth scientist, clicking his mandibles. "How did it survive combat?" "Look at those weapons," Thalrix continued, his voice dripping with mockery. "Are those kinetic launchers? Chemical propulsion systems?" He laughed again, and several others joined him. "What civilization still uses metal projectiles? This must be thousands of years old." Yuna moved closer to the screen, ignoring the laughter around her. She enhanced the image, focusing on specific details. The weapon ports were indeed designed for kinetic weapons, large railguns by the look of them. The engine configuration was unusual too. Instead of the standard quantum drives, this ship used what appeared to be fusion rockets. "It belongs in a museum," declared Commander Vorth, "a perfect example of evolutionary dead ends in military technology." "Should we investigate it?" asked Yuna quietly. Thalrix turned his floating sphere toward her. "Why waste time? This ship represents everything we have evolved beyond. No shields, no energy weapons, no neural interface systems. Whatever species built this clearly failed to survive the modern age." But Yuna had noticed something else. Small markings near the hull joints, barely visible. Strange symbols that teased at her memory. "I recommend we tow it to Museum Station Delta," said Vorth. "It will make an excellent display about primitive warfare methods." The council members agreed quickly. Within hours, the derelict warship was attached to their vessel with magnetic grapples. As they began the journey to the museum station, Yuna requested permission to board the old ship. "Denied," said Commander Vorth. "Too dangerous. The structure could collapse. We will let museum experts handle it." Yuna nodded but felt disappointed. She returned to her quarters and pulled up her database of ancient vessels. She searched through thousands of designs from hundreds of species. Nothing matched. Days passed as they traveled. The other scientists lost interest in the derelict ship. They returned to their regular duties, cataloging star charts and analyzing cosmic dust. But Yuna could not stop thinking about it. She enhanced the photographs she had taken, zooming in on those strange markings. They were not random scratches. They were deliberate etchings, possibly maintenance labels or identification codes. On the 5th day, she called her friend Hyun. He was a human linguist working at the Council Archives, 3 sectors away. When his face appeared on her communication screen, he looked tired but curious. Yuna, it has been months since we talked. How is the expedition? We found something, she said. An old warship. Very old. But Hyun, there are markings on it. I am sending you the images now. She transferred the enhanced photographs. Hyun was silent for a long moment as he examined them. These symbols, he said slowly. Yuna, where did you say you found this ship? Drifting in deep space. Why? Do you recognize them? Hyun's expression changed. He looked shocked. I need time to verify this. Give me 2 days. But Yuna, if I am right about what I am seeing. He paused. This is important. Very important. The call ended, leaving Yuna with more questions than answers. When they finally arrived at Museum Station Delta, the derelict ship created quite a spectacle. News of the primitive warship had spread throughout the council networks. Scientists and tourists gathered to see the ancient vessel that still used metal bullets for weapons. Yuna watched from an observation deck as the ship was carefully moved into a large display hangar. Thalrix was giving an interview to a news crew, explaining how this ship proved that some species chose the wrong path in technological development. Note the complete absence of energy shielding, he told the reporters proudly. Any modern frigate could destroy this vessel in seconds. It is a relic from a more barbaric age. The other council members nodded in agreement. They had already begun planning the museum exhibit. They would call it The Path Not Taken, Failures in Military Evolution. Yuna felt something strange in her chest. Not quite anger, but close to it. These aliens were so confident, so certain that their technology was superior. They laughed at this old ship without understanding what it represented. She looked at the dark vessel through the transparent walls. It sat in the hangar like a sleeping predator, its weapons silent, its hull scarred from battles fought long ago. Whatever species had built this ship had faced enemies in the darkness of space. They had fought and survived, at least for a time. Her communication device buzzed. A message from Hyun. I have confirmed it. Call me immediately. Private channel. Yuna left the observation deck quickly. Something in Hyun's message made her heart beat faster. She found an empty room and activated her secure communication device. When Hyun's face appeared, he looked pale. Tell me, Yuna said. Those markings, Hyun said quietly. They are Korean, old Korean, from about 400 years ago. Yuna, that ship is human. Yuna stared at Hyun's face on the screen. Her hands felt cold. Human, that is impossible. We never built ships like that. I thought so too, Hyun replied. He moved off screen for a moment and returned holding a data tablet. But look at these markings. I have enhanced them, cleaned up the images, and run them through every translation database we have. He shared his screen. Yuna saw the symbols magnified, cleaned of dirt and space radiation damage. Now they were clear. She recognized some of them, Korean characters, but in a very old style. This one here, Hyun pointed to a series of marks near what looked like an engine access panel. It says emergency coolant valve. This one says maintenance required every 2,000 hours. And this, he zoomed in on a larger etching near the bow. This is a name Gumgang. It means Diamond Mountain. Yuna felt dizzy. How old? Based on the language style and the dating of the metal corrosion, I estimate 400 years. Maybe 450. Hyun's voice was quiet. Yuna, this is from the First Contact Wars. The First Contact Wars. Every human child learned about them in school, but the details were vague. It was the period when humanity first left Earth and met other species. The official histories said it was a difficult time, with some conflicts, but that humanity eventually chose peace and diplomacy. I thought we lost only a few ships in those wars, Yuna said. Official records say 12 colony defense vessels went missing, Hyun answered. Never found. Presumed destroyed with all hands. The Gumgang was one of them. We need to tell the council. I already tried, Hyun said, and his expression turned bitter. I sent a formal report to the archaeological department. They laughed, Yuna. They said humans were known as peaceful traders. They said our military history was limited at best. They dismissed my findings. Yuna felt anger rising in her chest. Did you show them the evidence? Yes, all of it. They said I was probably misreading maintenance labels from some other species. They said Korean characters look similar to Drenth symbols and I must be confused. Hyun shook his head. They will not listen. Then we make them listen, Yuna said firmly. I am going to board that ship. Vorth denied your request. I know. But this is human property. I am going to invoke salvage rights. By galactic law, if we can prove the vessel belongs to humanity, Earth has the right to claim it. Hyun smiled for the first time. I like the way you think. But you will need help. Technical help. I know someone, Yuna said. She was thinking of Taeho, a human military historian and engineer who worked at the museum station. He was difficult and aggressive, not well liked by the council members, but he knew more about old Earth military technology than anyone alive. After ending the call with Hyun, Yuna went to find Taeho. She located him in the station's lower levels, in a workshop filled with ancient machines and tools. He was a big man with scars on his hands from years of working with sharp metal and hot engines. Taeho, she called out. He looked up from a disassembled engine part. Yuna, I heard about your old ship. Everyone says it is junk. It is not junk, she said. It is human. From the first contact wars, Taeho's hand stopped moving. He set down his tools carefully. Explain. She told him everything, the markings, Hyun's translation, the name Gyumgang. As she spoke, Taeho's expression changed from disinterest to intense focus. A Peacemaker-class vessel, he said quietly. I thought they were all destroyed. You know about them? Of course I know about them. Taeho stood up, his voice rising with excitement. I wrote my dissertation on First Contact War military hardware. The Peacemaker class was legendary. 12 ships built in emergency shipyards around Mars. They were designed for one purpose, to protect human colonies from hostile aliens who wanted to wipe us out. The Council does not believe humans ever built serious warships, Taeho laughed. But it was not a happy sound. The Council knows only the humanity that came after the wars. We made sure of that. After we won, after we drove back the species that tried to destroy us, we made a choice. We buried our military past. We became traitors and diplomats instead of warriors. Why? Because we saw what fear does to the galaxy. The species that attacked us were afraid of us, afraid of our rapid expansion. So we chose to be non-threatening. We chose peace. Taeho walked toward the door. But that ship out there? That is from before we made that choice. Come on, we need to see it. Getting permission to board the Gyumgang took 2 days of arguments and paperwork. Finally, Commander Vorth agreed, but only because Yuna invoked ancient salvage laws. If the ship was proven to be human, Earth could claim it. The Council was so confident it was not human that they allowed the investigation. Yuna, Taeho, and a safety inspector named Kaiwan, a human structural engineer, entered the derelict vessel wearing environment suits. The airlock was frozen solid and they had to cut through with plasma torches. Inside, the ship was dark and cold. Ice crystals covered every surface. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness, revealing corridors and chambers that had been silent for 4 centuries. Taeho moved with surprising confidence, as if he knew the layout. Peacemaker-class ships all shared the same basic design, he explained. Command deck forward, engineering aft, crew quarters on deck 2. They made their way through the frozen corridors. Yuna saw signs of damage. Scorched walls, patched hull breaches, emergency repairs done quickly under combat conditions. This ship had fought hard. In the command deck, they found what they were looking for. The main computer core, frozen but intact. Taeho connected a portable power unit and began the slow process of awakening the sleeping systems. This will take hours, he said. Maybe days. The system needs to warm up slowly or it will crack. Kiwan was examining the walls, taking measurements. This ship is solid, he said with admiration. Heavy armor, redundant systems, compartmentalized design. This was built to take punishment. To take punishment and keep fighting, Taeho corrected. These ships were designed by people who expected to die, but wanted to take as many enemies with them as possible. While they waited for the computer core to warm up, they explored more of the ship. They found crew quarters, small, efficient rooms designed for long deployments. Personal items still floated in zero gravity. Photographs, letters, small tokens from Earth. In one room, Yuna found a photograph frozen to a wall. It showed a young woman in a military uniform, standing with an older couple and 2 children. A family frozen in time waiting for someone who would never return. They were so young, Yuna whispered. Most volunteers were, Taiho said from behind her. Humanity was desperate. The enemy was killing our colonies, destroying our ships, pushing toward Earth itself. Anyone who could fight, did fight. By the third day, Taiho had successfully powered up a portion of the ship's computer. The ancient AI core came online slowly, checking its systems, finding most of them damaged or offline. But the logs were intact. Taiho began accessing them, and Yuna watched over his shoulder as 400-year-old records appeared on the dim screen. Ship status reports, battle damage assessments, mission orders, and then they found the combat logs. No, Kiwan breathed. That cannot be right. The numbers glowed on the screen. Confirmed enemy vessels destroyed 47. Enemy dreadnoughts disabled 12. Colonies successfully defended 8. This one ship, Yuna said slowly, killed 47 enemy vessels. With that primitive equipment, Taiho added, his voice filled with dark pride. With railguns and missiles and no energy shields, against species that had plasma weapons and barrier technology. The combat logs told the story. The Gumgang had fought in 17 major battles over a 3-year period. It had been damaged and repaired dozens of times. It had lost crew members. Their names were listed in memorial files, 143 people who died in service. But it had never stopped fighting. We need to show this to the Council, Yuna said. The Galactic Council chamber was full. Representatives from 30 different species had gathered to hear Yuna's presentation. She stood at the center of the circular room, feeling small under the high ceiling and the stares of so many alien eyes. Honored council members, she began, I present evidence that the vessel currently displayed in Museum Station Delta is human in origin. Specifically from Earth's first contact wars period, approximately 400 years ago. She activated the holographic display. Images appeared in the air above her. The Korean characters, Hyun's translations, the ship's identification codes. Thalrix's bubbling laugh filled the chamber. This again? The human linguist's fantasy? It is not a fantasy, Yuna said firmly. I have physical evidence. Written language, design patterns, and recovered computer logs. The ship is called Gyumgang. It was a Peacemaker-class defense vessel. Impossible, declared a Drenth Council member. Humans have never been a military species. You are traders, diplomats, scientists. Your military capabilities are minimal. That is what we chose to become, Yuna replied. But 400 years ago we were different. We were desperate. Commander Vorth's forearms crossed skeptically. You claim this primitive vessel with its outdated weapons and lack of modern defensive systems was effective in combat? Not just effective. Taiho's voice came from the back of the chamber. He walked forward holding a data tablet. Dominant. The council members made various sounds of surprise and disapproval. Taiho was known for being difficult, for arguing with council decisions, for questioning authority. Engineer Taiho, Vorth said coldly. You were not invited to speak. I go where the evidence takes me, Taiho replied. He reached Yuna's side and connected his tablet to the holographic system. And the evidence says you are all wrong. New images appeared. Combat logs, mission reports, kill counts. The chamber fell silent as the numbers appeared. 47 confirmed enemy vessels destroyed by this single ship. This is fabricated, Thalrix said, but his voice was less certain now. You created false records to support your claim. The records are encrypted with 400-year-old Earth military codes, Taiho said. Codes that have been lost for centuries. I could not fabricate them if I wanted to. They are real. A third human entered the chamber. Nari was a systems analyst, young and brilliant, known for her ability to detect false data and corrupted files. She had been working with Taiho for the past 2 days. I have verified the authenticity of all files, Nari announced. The encryption signatures match historical patterns from the First Contact Wars period. The data degradation is consistent with 400 years of cosmic radiation exposure. These logs are genuine. The council chamber erupted in voices, some angry, some confused, many disbelieving. Yuna waited for the noise to die down before continuing. This ship fought in 17 major battles, she said. It protected 8 human colonies from destruction. It disabled 12 enemy dreadnoughts, ships much larger and theoretically more powerful than itself. And it did all of this using what you call primitive technology. How? Asked a young Kelthian scientist. I am an engineer. I have studied that vessel. Its weapons are simple kinetic launchers. Its armor is just thick metal. Its engines are fusion-based, centuries behind our quantum drives. How could it possibly defeat ships with plasma weapons and energy shields? Tejo smiled. Because its designers understood something that modern military engineers have forgotten. Simple does not mean ineffective. He brought up technical schematics of the Gyeomgang's weapons. These railguns fire tungsten rounds at 3% of light speed. That is fast enough to punch through energy shields before the shields can react. Your modern barriers are designed to disperse energy. Heat, plasma, radiation. They are not designed to stop solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The Kelthian scientist leaned forward, studying the diagrams with new interest. The armor, Tejo continued, is layered steel and ceramic composite, 2 meters thick in critical areas. Plasma weapons superheat metal, yes, but thick armor can absorb multiple hits before failing. And this ship has no shields to maintain, no energy fields to power. All its energy goes to weapons, engines, and life support. The chemical propulsion system, Nari added, produces almost no energy signature. Modern sensors are calibrated to detect quantum drive emissions. This ship could hide in plain sight, appearing as nothing more than a large asteroid. The council members were quiet now, processing this information. Yuna could see doubt replacing mockery on many faces. But surely, Forth said slowly, our current military vessels could easily defeat such a ship in direct combat. Could they? Tejo asked. Your ships rely on shields. If those shields fail against kinetic weapons, what then? Your armor is thin, designed to be light and fast, relying on shields for protection. One solid hit from a railgun round would tear through your hull like paper. Thalric searched for words. This is disturbing. If what you say is true, why did humanity abandon such effective designs? Yuna looked directly at him. Because after the war ended, we had a choice. We could be feared or we could be trusted. We chose trust. We put away our warships and became traitors. We joined the Galactic Council as diplomats, not warriors. You hid your true nature, a Vexari Council member accused. We evolved beyond our true nature, Yuna corrected. There is a difference. The session ended with the Council voting to launch a formal investigation. They were not ready to accept the evidence yet, but they could not dismiss it either. The Gyeomgang would remain in the museum station, but now under Earth's custody pending the investigation results. Over the following weeks, Tejo and Nari continued their work on the ship. They restored more systems, recovered more files, and slowly awakened the ancient AI core. One night, Yuna found Tejo alone in the Gyeomgang's engineering section. He was sitting on the floor surrounded by old parts and new tools working on a damaged power relay. You should rest, she said. I am too excited to rest, Tejo replied. He held up a circuit board covered in repair patches. Do you see this? This was fixed in battle. The crew was being shot at, the ship was taking damage, and someone crawled through fire and vacuum to repair this relay. Because without it, the main guns would not fire. They were brave. They were terrified, Tejo corrected. I found personal logs in the crew quarters. They knew they would probably die. But they fought anyway, because their families were on those colonies. Their children, their parents, their friends. They fought because if they did not, everyone they loved would be killed. Yuna sat down beside him. The council still does not want to believe us. They will, Tejo said confidently. Because I am going to prove it. Watch this. He connected the repaired relay to the ship's power grid. Lights flickered on throughout the engineering section, dim at first, then brighter. Displays activated, showing system status. And deep in the ship's core, something rumbled to life. You got the reactor working? Yuna asked in shock. Only at 5% power, Tejo said with satisfaction. But it is enough. The main computer is fully online now. The AI is awake. A voice emerged from the speakers, dry, mechanical, but clear. Engineering status, critical damage to 73% of primary systems. Crew complement 0. Current location unknown. Time since last activity, 432 years, 8 months, 14 days. Hello, Gyeomgang, Tejo said. This is Engineer Tejo, Earth Core Legacy Division. I am here to bring you home. The AI was silent for a moment. When it spoke again, something in its tone had changed, becoming almost gentle. Are the colonies safe? Yuna felt tears in her eyes. Yes, the colonies are safe. Humanity won the war. Good, the AI said. Then our sacrifice meant something. Captain Ji-hoon would be pleased. Over the next 2 weeks, the AI shared everything. Complete tactical records, classified mission orders, personal messages from crew members. It even had video footage from the bridge during battles. Shaky, terrifying images of plasma fire and explosions, of crew members working desperately while alarms blared. Nari compiled all of it into a comprehensive report. The evidence was undeniable now. This ship was human. It had fought and killed and protected. It represented a side of humanity that the galaxy had never seen, a side that humanity itself had tried to forget. The council called for another session, this time in the museum station itself in front of the Geumgang. Hundreds of representatives attended, along with media crews from dozens of species. Yuna presented the full evidence. When she finished, the chamber was completely silent. Then Thalric spoke. "I owe an apology," he said quietly, "to humanity and to the crew of this vessel. I mocked what I did not understand. I called this ship primitive without knowing its history. I was wrong." Other council members nodded in agreement. Even Commander Vorth looked humbled. "The question now," said the Kelthian scientist who had spoken before, "is whether humanity still possesses ships like this. Whether your species still has this capacity for such effective warfare." Yuna looked at Taiho. They had discussed this question many times. It was Taiho who answered, "That is a question for Earth's government, not for us. But I will say this. The Geumgang was one of 12 Peacemaker-class vessels. 11 others were listed as lost. Perhaps some of them, like this one." 3 days after the council session, everything changed. Yuna was in her quarters reviewing technical documents about the Geumgang's weapon systems when the alarms began. They were not the gentle chimes of a routine drill. They were harsh, urgent screaming through every corridor of the museum station. She ran to the nearest communication panel and activated it. "This is Yuna. What is happening?" The response came from the station's defense coordinator, his voice tight with fear. "We are under attack. Multiple hostile vessels. Kreth raiders." The Kreth. Yuna knew of them. A species that operated at the edges of council space, pirates and raiders who attacked weak targets. But they had never been bold enough to strike a council station before. She ran toward the hangar where the Geumgang was docked. Her communication device buzzed constantly with emergency updates. 8 Kreth vessels had emerged from quantum jumps at the edge of the station's sensor range. They were heavily armed warships, not small raiding craft. The station's defense forces were scrambling. Yuna saw council military ships launching from docking bays, their sleek hulls gleaming with active shield emitters. They formed a protective screen between the station and the approaching Kreth fleet. She reached the hangar and found Taiho already there, working frantically at a control panel. Nari was with him, her fingers flying over a keyboard. "What are you doing?" Yuna asked. "Getting the ship ready," Taiho said without looking up. "We are going to need it." "The council forces can handle 8 raiders," Yuna said. But her voice was uncertain. "Watch," Nari said, pointing at a display screen showing the battle. The council defense ships opened fire first. Brilliant lances of plasma energy streaked across space toward the Kreth vessels. The plasma bolts hit. Yuna could see the impacts clearly, but nothing happened. The Kreth ships absorbed the plasma fire without damage. Their shields glowed briefly with each hit, then faded, completely intact. "New shield technology," Taiho said grimly. "I was afraid of this. The intelligence report said the Kreth were developing improved barriers, but I did not know they had perfected them." More council ships joined the fight. Energy weapons of every type filled space with deadly light. Plasma cannons, particle beams, ion lances. All of them struck the Kreth shields and all of them failed to penetrate. Then the Kreth returned fire. Their weapons were older, cruder plasma cannons, but they did not need to be sophisticated. The council ship's shields held against the first few hits, but Kreth vessels outnumbered them and kept firing. One by one, council ships began to fail. Shields collapsed, hulls ruptured, and ships went dark. Yuna watched in horror as a Kelthian destroyer took a direct hit to its reactor section. The ship exploded in a brief, brilliant flash, then disappeared. "We have to do something," she shouted. "I am trying," Taiho yelled back. "But this ship has been dead for 400 years. I have 5% reactor power and most systems offline. I need time." The station shook. The Kreth were getting closer, beginning to target the station itself. Red emergency lights flooded the hangar. Commander Vorth's voice came over the station-wide communication system. All personnel evacuate to emergency shelters. Defense forces are unable to hold. I repeat, evacuate immediately. How long? Yuna asked Taiho desperately. 10 minutes, maybe less. He turned to Nari. Can you get the targeting computer online? Working on it, Nari said. Sweat ran down her face despite the cold air. Another explosion rocked the station. Through the hangar's transparent walls, Yuna saw a council cruiser break apart, its crew section separating from the burning engine compartment. We are out of time, she said. Then we do this the hard way. Taiho ran toward the Gyumgang's boarding ramp. Nari, you are co-pilot. Yuna, go to the engineering station. I am not trained for combat, Yuna protested. Neither am I, Taiho shouted back. But we are all this ship has. They ran through the Gyumgang's dark corridors. Emergency power gave them only dim lighting. The ship groaned around them, 4 centuries of silence ending as ancient systems struggled to wake. The bridge was small and cramped compared to modern ship designs. Everything was manual controls, physical switches and buttons instead of holographic interfaces. Taiho threw himself into the pilot's seat while Nari took the co-pilot position. Engineering station, Yuna. Taiho pointed to a console on the left side of the bridge. Yuna slid into the seat. The displays showed system status in Old Korean text. But she could read enough to understand. Reactor at 5%. Weapons at minimal power. Shields non-existent, not offline, but not installed at all. This ship had never used shields. Magnetic clamps released, Nari announced. We are free of the dock. Do we have maneuvering thrusters? Taiho asked. Yes, Yuna said, reading the engineering display. Fusion rockets 1 through 8 are online. Good enough. Taiho's hands moved over the controls. The Gyumgang shuddered and began to move, sliding out of the hangar on bursts of chemical thrust. Through the forward view screen, Yuna could see the battle clearly now. Only 2 council ships remained active, and they were retreating toward the station, shields failing. The Kreth vessels advanced in a loose formation, their weapons firing constantly. Weapon status? Taiho demanded. Nari checked her display. Railgun batteries 1 and 2 are operational. We have 43 rounds total. Missile tubes are empty, no ammunition. 43 rounds against 8 ships, Taiho muttered. We will have to make them count. Yuna, push the reactor to 10%. The computer says that is dangerous. The computer has been asleep for 400 years. It is cautious, do it. Yuna entered the commands with shaking hands. The reactor power began to climb. The ship groaned louder and she heard concerning sounds from deep in the engineering section. Metal expanding, systems straining, but the power indicators rose. 7%, 8%, 9%, 10%. Weapons at full power, Nari announced. Taking us in, Taiho said. The Gyumgang accelerated toward the Kreth fleet. Its ancient engines burned bright, pushing the warship faster and faster. They were not using quantum drives, just simple, brutal fusion thrust. A Kreth vessel detected them and turned. Plasma fire streaked toward the Gyumgang. Without shields, the shots hit the hull directly. Yuna felt the impacts through her seat. Hull breach on deck 3, she shouted. Seal it. Emergency bulkheads. Yuna entered commands frantically. Blast doors slammed shut throughout the ship, isolating the damaged section. We are in range, Nari said. Target lock acquired. Fire, Taiho ordered. The Gyumgang's railguns fired. There was no brilliant flash of energy, no dramatic beam of light. Just a deep bass thump that vibrated through the entire ship. And in space, a tungsten round traveling at 3% of light speed crossed the distance to the Kreth vessel in less than a second. The round hit the Kreth ship's shields. The shields glowed, trying to disperse the kinetic energy. But the round was moving too fast, carrying too much momentum. The shields collapsed under the impact, and the round punched straight through the hull. The Kreth ship shuddered. Atmosphere vented from the entry and exit holes. Internal explosions rippled along its length. The vessel went dark and began to drift. One down, Taiho said. Nari, next target. The other Kreth vessels reacted with shock. They had never seen weapons like this. Their improved shields, which had made them invincible against Council energy weapons, meant nothing against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The Gyumgang fired again, and again. Each shot was carefully aimed, conserving their limited ammunition. Each shot found its target. A second Kreth vessel took a round through its engine section. The reactor containment failed, and the ship vanished in a nuclear fireball. A third vessel tried to maneuver, but the Gang's targeting computer, ancient but effective, predicted the movement. The railgun round caught it amidships, tearing the ship in half. "They are breaking formation," Nari reported. "4 vessels attempting to retreat. Don't let them," Taiho said coldly. He pushed the engines harder, chasing the fleeing raiders. The Gang was not fast by modern standards, but it was fast enough. One by one, the fleeing Kreth ships fell to railgun fire. Tungsten rounds punched through shields, through armor, through reactors and crew compartments. The last 2 Kreth vessels jumped to quantum travel, escaping. But 6 of their companions floated dead in space, torn apart by weapons that should have been obsolete. The Gang slowed its pursuit and turned back toward the station. The bridge was silent except for the hum of systems and the beeping of damage alerts. "Casualties?" Taiho asked quietly. "None," Yuna said, surprised. The hull breaches were in empty cargo sections. "We are intact." Through the view screen, they could see the museum station, damaged, scarred, but still there. The 2 surviving Council defense ships floated nearby, their crews surely staring in disbelief at what they had just witnessed. Yuna's communication device activated. It was Commander Vorth. "Human vessel Gumgang," Vorth said slowly. "This is Museum Station Delta. That was... We are... Thank you. You saved us." Taiho opened a return channel. "This is Engineer Taiho, commanding Gyeomgang. Request permission to dock for repairs." "Permission granted," Vorth said. "Permission very much granted." As they guided the ancient warship back to its hangar, Yuna looked at the tactical display. 6 Kreth vessels destroyed in 12 minutes, with a crew of 3 and a ship running at partial power. The council chamber was different this time. No one was laughing. No one made dismissive comments. Every representative sat in absolute silence as Yuna presented her final report on the Kreth attack. 6 enemy vessels destroyed, she said, her voice steady. 0 friendly casualties. Total engagement time, 12 minutes. Ammunition expended 37 railgun rounds. She paused. The Gumgang was operating at 10% reactor power with a crew of 3 untrained civilians. Thalrix floated forward in his liquid sphere. "The Kreth shields that our entire defense fleet could not penetrate. How did your ship bypass them so easily?" "Not easily," Taiho said from his seat. "Those rounds hit with tremendous force. But kinetic weapons work on basic physics. Mass times velocity equals momentum. No shield can disperse that much kinetic energy instantly. The rounds punch through before the shields can react." "Then why?" asked a Drenth Council member slowly. "Does no modern military use such weapons?" "Because energy weapons are more versatile," Nari explained. She stood beside Yuna, holding a data tablet. "Plasma cannons do not need ammunition. They draw power directly from reactors. They can fire indefinitely. Railguns need physical rounds which must be stored loaded and are limited in supply." "But against an enemy with superior shields," Commander Vorth said thoughtfully, "railguns would be more effective." "Yes," Taiho agreed. "Which is exactly why humanity designed the Peacemaker-class vessels the way we did. During the first contact wars, we faced enemies with better technology. Better shields, better energy weapons, better ships. We could not win by fighting their way, so we fought our way with simple, brutal physics." A young Kelthian scientist raised one of his 4 hands. "I have reviewed the technical specifications you provided. This ship's design is remarkably efficient. Heavy armor, redundant systems, all power directed to engines and weapons. No energy wasted on shields or luxury. It is elegant in a primitive way." "It is not primitive," said an older Vexari diplomat. "It is specialized. Built for one purpose, war. Total war." The chamber fell silent again. That truth hung heavy in the air. Finally, it was Commander Vorth who spoke the question everyone was thinking. "Earth's representative is not here today. Ambassador Minji was scheduled to attend." "Where is she?" "She is arriving now," said the Council's administrative secretary. "She requested a few days to prepare her statement. She is bringing classified information from Earth's government." As if summoned by her name, the chamber doors opened. Ambassador Minji entered, flanked by 2 human security officers. She was a small woman, elderly, with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council for 20 years. Behind her walked 3 more humans, all wearing military uniforms. Not the decorative dress uniforms seen at ceremonies, but actual combat gear. Yuna recognized the style from historical records. These were the uniforms worn during the First Contact Wars. The council members stirred uneasily at this display. Minji walked to the center of the chamber. She did not bow or make any gesture of deference. She simply looked around at the assembled representatives with calm authority. "Honored Council," she began. "For 20 years I have represented humanity in these halls. I have spoken of peace, cooperation, and mutual prosperity. Everything I said was true. Humanity does value peace. We do seek cooperation." She paused. "But we have not been entirely honest about our past." She activated a holographic display. An image appeared, the Geumgang, but not damaged and ancient as it was now. This was the ship in its prime, fresh from the shipyard, bristling with weapons painted in dark camouflage patterns. "The Peacemaker-class defense vessel," Minji said. 12 were built during the First Contact Wars. Earth's enemies at that time were 3 species: the Krellix Dominion, the Theron Empire, and the Vex Collective. Thalrix made a sound of surprise. "The Vex Collective? But they are extinct. They disappeared 400 years ago." "They did not disappear," Minji said quietly. "They were destroyed. By us." The chamber erupted. Voices shouted in multiple languages, translators struggling to keep up. Minji waited patiently for the noise to fade. "The Krellix and Theron also vanished around the same time," said a Drenth historian. "The historical records say they destroyed each other in internal wars." "The historical records are incomplete," Minji replied. "The truth is that all 3 species attacked humanity's early colonies. They saw us as a threat, a rapidly expanding species from a small world spreading too fast, claiming too many systems. They decided to eliminate us before we became dangerous." She changed the image. Now it showed a burning colony, buildings destroyed, bodies in the streets. "New Shanghai colony," Minji said. "Population 300,000. The Krellix killed them all in one night. They did not offer surrender. They did not take prisoners. They simply erased everyone." Another image. Harmony Station. Destroyed by the Theron. 40,000 dead. Another image. New Seoul, New Dublin, New Mumbai, New Jakarta. 12 colonies destroyed in the first month of the war. Yuna felt sick. She had never seen these images before. "They were not in the public histories." "Humanity responded," Minji continued. "We built the Peacemaker fleet. 12 ships designed by desperate people who knew they were about to be wiped out. And those 12 ships went to war." New images appeared. Battle scenes, ship combat, planetary assaults. The Peacemaker vessels tearing through enemy fleets like wolves among sheep. "It took 3 years," Minji said. 3 years of total war. We destroyed their shipyards, their military bases, their fleet headquarters. We hunted down every warship they had. And when their governments finally sued for peace, we refused. The temperature in the chamber seemed to drop. "We refused?" Commander Vorth repeated. "But that is genocide," Minji finished. "Yes, that is the ugly truth. We did not stop until all 3 species were extinct. We burned their homeworlds. We destroyed their colonies. We erased them from existence." The silence now was absolute. Every representative stared at the elderly human woman who had just confessed to the extinction of 3 entire species. "After the war ended," Minji continued, her voice softer now, "humanity looked at what we had done. We looked at the 12 Peacemaker-class vessels and the technology we had developed. And we made a choice." She changed the image again. Now it showed the Peacemaker ships in a massive shipyard, being carefully disassembled and stored. We could have kept building such weapons. We could have continued as a military power, feared and avoided by everyone. But we remembered something important. We did not start that war. We did not want to be killers. We had become killers because we had to, because survival demanded it. So we buried our history. We classified it, sealed it away. We destroyed most of the Peacemaker fleet, but not all of it. She looked directly at Yuna. 11 ships we kept in deep storage, maintained, ready, but hidden. The Geumgang was supposed to be with them, but it was lost before we could recover it. "Why?" asked the young Kelthian scientist. "Why keep them secret?" "Because," Minji said, "we wanted to be judged by who we chose to become, not who we had been. We wanted to build relationships based on trust, not fear. We wanted the galaxy to see us as partners, not threats." Tejo stood up. "But we never forgot. Every human child learns about the First Contact Wars, though we do not teach them the complete story. We remember that we were nearly destroyed. We remember what we had to do to survive, and we remember that we have the capacity to do it again if we must. Minji nodded. The Kreth attack proved something important. Modern military technology has evolved to counter modern military technology. Energy shields against energy weapons, quantum drives against quantum drives. But sometimes old methods work precisely because they are old, because they are unexpected. Is this a threat? Thalrix asked. His voice was very quiet. No, Minji said firmly. It is an explanation. Earth has no hostile intentions toward the Council or any member species. We value peace. We value cooperation. But we are also not defenseless. We are not weak. If threatened, we can fight. If attacked, we will respond. She looked around the chamber. For 20 years, I have argued for peaceful resolutions to conflicts. I will continue to do so. But now you know the complete truth. Humanity chose peace, but we chose it from a position of strength, not weakness. The council session ended without any formal decisions. Everyone needed time to process what they had learned. But as the representatives filed out, many of them looked at the humans differently now, with respect mixed with wariness. Yuna found Minji in one of the station's observation lounges, looking out at the stars. That was difficult for you, Yuna said. Revealing all of that. Necessary, Minji corrected. The truth was going to come out eventually. Better to control how and when. She turned to Yuna. Your discovery of the Gumgang forced our hand, but perhaps that is for the best. Secrets have a way of becoming more dangerous the longer they are kept. Will the council fear us now? Some will. Some already did, and now they understand why. But fear and respect are close neighbors. Minji smiled slightly. And respect is what we need to maintain peace. In the hangar, Taiho and Nari were working on the Gumgang. The ship was being fully restored now, funded by Earth's government. It would become a memorial, a reminder of humanity's past.